Well, this didn't live up to the hype. Last night I got to see Weapons, and I do not understand how this got a score this high. It got a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is unusual and very rare to see. When I saw that, I was like, oh, this movie must be good. And I saw Barbarian, which was made by the same director of Weapons, Zach Cregger, and I thought it was still a good movie. It had some issues, pretty goofy and pretty silly writing towards the end, but I still enjoyed it. But yeah, this doesn't deserve the 100%. I do not agree with that score at all. The story is about this small town in Pennsylvania where at 2:17 a.m., 17 children got up in the middle of the night and ran to some unknown location and went missing. The story follows a few characters just like in Barbarian, where they try to discover what happened and the mystery behind everything, and they've realized it's not some normal shit that happened, it's some very spooky supernatural shit that happened. I will say, as a premise, it's definitely very interesting. There was definitely a lot of mystery in the trailers, like why the kids were running the certain way they were, and why 217, and like why the movie is called Weapons. You know, just like with Barbarian, there was a lot of mystery behind it. So you'd expect that the movie explained like a lot of that, towards the end at least. Well, unfortunately, one thing I didn't like about the story is how they didn't explain much of anything. By the end of the movie, I was left with so many more questions than answers. I'll even get to the specific characters, but like, there really just isn't any substance behind the story at all. Like, there's also just nothing to take from this. There's no meaning, there's no purpose to it. There's like, at least with Barbarians, I got the message behind it, but with this one, I just didn't get it. That's until I looked it up. But here is what the director said. I wasn't trying to comment on or even tap into collective societal tragedies, Cregger told the playlist. I was purely writing from a personal place. However, with art, and especially storytelling, the individual is universal. So I'm more than happy if anybody relates to what I went through and what this movie is examining. But I wasn't thinking, oh, America at all. I was thinking, oh, Zach. Instead, he said Weapons was his attempt at processing the death of a close friend. I had a tragedy in my life that was really, really tough, he told Entertainment Weekly. Someone very, very, very close to me died suddenly, and honestly, I was so grief-stricken and I started writing Weapons, not out of any ambition, but just as a way to reckon with my own emotions. Even the movie title itself, which seems to be a reference to all the ways we as humans can be weaponized against each other, was apparently meant to be ambiguous. I've heard a couple of people articulate why it's called that, and I think they're all right, Cregger told him. I think it's all legal. So I don't want to say that the director didn't try with this film when writing it, but I will say, to me, this wasn't his best work, and the meaning behind this film is kind of just odd and strange. Story and writing was just very confusing and very weird. I guess I shouldn't say the story, because the story itself was interesting to like see as the movie progressed and how it was like leading up to the moments that we found out. Like, that was all really good, but like I mentioned, it didn't really end up being anything, really. The actors and actresses were all great except for the main character, specifically Julia Gardner. I do not think she is a good actress, and I don't think that's controversial to say. She's been in 3 movies so far that have come out this year, and this movie being the third, 2 of those 3 she did very horrible in. She was in Fantastic Four, which she did a fine job being the Silver Surfer, but it's really nothing too crazy. I don't think she tries with these roles. I don't know how she keeps getting them, but I have not been impressed with her performance at all. I don't even like her character. Actually, we'll talk about the characters right now. Characters are all pretty fine, a lot of them pretty standard. Zach Cregger also did the thing where there was just a lot of dumb people in this film, especially with police officers. Josh Brolin's character was pretty interesting because we did get to see more of him being, vulnerable in this film, so he was a good character. There was a drug addict named James, played by Austin Abrams. He also did an amazing job acting, and he was a pretty fun character to see. All the other characters were just fine, but nothing worth mentioning. Its genre was very conflicting because on one hand, the mystery behind everything was very cool and good, though it doesn't really end up being that great once you find out the mystery. It's also a horror film, and I didn't even think it was that scary at times. There was maybe 2 moments that I definitely got like, ooh, little jump out of me. Yeah, this movie unfortunately has jump scares in it, and some of them are actually, as the jump scares kept happening, they kept being more and more lazy and more awful as the film kept going. I've said it a lot of times, jump scares are just the sign of just the worst movies ever. I don't understand how in this year we're still making horror films and doing unironic jump scares unless it's literally The Conjuring or like Paranormal Activity. Leave it to those films. I just can't imagine being a writer or director in the booth trying to come up with a story and then unironically writing, and then they do a jump scare. This isn't really worth talking about, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of jump scares. The editing of this movie was very similar to Barbarian, where they wanted to tell the story of like 5 characters and how it all connected at the end. And you know, it was fine. There was definitely a lot of moments I was like, oh wow, I can't believe they did that shot again. Now, it's possible they really did do everything in one shot when they told multiple stories, but it's really fun to see that. There wasn't really any like cool camera shots that I can remember or think of. They did have this like moment where every time like someone gets into a car or like someone's closing a door, like the camera moves with the door. That was pretty cool, but it was very rare. Music was kind of interesting. They had this one song playing as the kids were all running out into the night. That was pretty fun. Though I don't really remember there being much of a soundtrack to this film. They have their typical horror movie sounds and, you know, music pieces that they play where, ooh, something creepy is happening, so let's play the string pizzicato type song. There was a lot of moments where the music was also just really, really silent, so that added into the like horror aspect. For me personally, any movie that like is psychologically scary is always going to be scarier than like physical, you know, horror. That's really all I want to talk about right now. This movie doesn't really have much other big points to talk about besides the story itself, and I'll do a brief, you know, discussion about it. So if you don't want to hear spoilers, skip to this moment in the video. So yeah, the kids all get up one night and everyone's like, oh, what happened to the kids? They've been missing for a month, and everyone's freaking out. You know, of course that makes sense. Parents would. A lot of them start blaming the teacher, which does make sense considering it's her students and they were all from one classroom. And then they hid this in the trailer, but there was one character who was actually not, you know, possessed and running in the middle of the night, which he was Alex. And there was a lot of mystery behind him, and he was also questioned by the police, but he's a child. He could never do anything wrong. So the first like sections of the film, because again this is told by multiple people, as the main story's first half is about people just figuring out what's going on and like realizing that there's something creepy going. Everyone's blaming the teacher, and Josh Brolin's character is writing witch on her car, which is very rude, and she's also trying to get to the bottom of this. Also, side note, I didn't really talk about it much, but Julia Gardner's character is so horrible in this film. She's so unlikable, and I feel like she has no chemistry with anybody, and this added on with her horrible acting does not make me enjoy it at all. So I really liked the movie better when it wasn't on Justine or Julia Gardner's character. Josh Brolin's character was very interesting to see, and he really wanted to figure out what the fuck was going on. He was able to triangulate where the kids were running and figuring out that they all ran to one spot. And I mentioned it before, the police and investigators are really stupid because it took this one guy to realize they were all running in one direction. If this was the real world, the police would have found this out instantly. There's going to be some other moments in the film that shows that the police are just fucking stupid and useless. I don't know if the director has a hate boner for the police, but this isn't the first film he's made that the police were absolutely fucking stupid and useless. There's also this other guy, Marcus, who is a cop who is very mean, and like he has an attitude, and it's implied that he's not happy with his wife. He even cheats on her and goes out to drink and everything, and he even like beats up the other drug dealer character who becomes important. He like beats him up when he like gets poked, which understandably it's okay to be mad, but he beats him up and punches him, and it even turns off his cameras. And like, yeah, I get it, cops are corrupt, but holy fuck, was he just not even hesitating at all? So all this shit was just going on. A lot of fingers were being pointed at Alex and his house. That's where every storyline kind of like ended up, you know, pointing at. And when we got to see Alex's story, we find out that Alex lives with his mom and dad. You know, he has parents, and he's not like the happiest kid because he gets picked on by one specific kid, Matthew, which is the Josh Brolin's dad character son. I think his name is Archer, but his son is Matthew, and his son Matthew is bullying Alex. So he's not really happy, and then he's also not happy because his aunt is coming into town. And throughout the multiple stories, we got to see this character who was just creepy old white lady that was just in the background or like doing something very, you know, creepy and scary and shit. And it turns out that woman was Alex's aunt. And when she came to stay, she said she was sick. Turns out she was there to take children. To do what? Well, guess what? The movie doesn't really say that. I guess it's to assume that she was going to take the kids as like, you know, soul or like soul food or something. Yeah, soul food. She was going to like take the kid's life to fuel her own life so that she can live longer. You know, the movie doesn't outright say exactly what the main antagonist wants to do, but this is what she does. She has these like certain tree branches from the one tree, I don't know what it's called, but she has these branches where if she has it connected with someone's, you know, DNA or someone's like belongings, she can possess them, and depending on if she like uses blood, she can have them kill someone. And she eventually manipulated Alex's parents to like being zombies, and she then was like, hey, I need you to go get me some kids. And he then took all the name tags from the kids, you know, like supply boxes, which that scene alone is stupid. If the scene where he takes the name tags, it's a dumb scene. He takes all the name tags, brings it back to the aunt, and then she performs a spell, and that is what caused the kids to run out into the middle of the night. They were possessed by the creepy aunt. And yeah, that's just it. They kind of just tell it, but again, we don't know why specifically she needed these kids. We don't even know why it was 2:17 a.m. This whole film centered around 2:17. Hell, there's even a scene where it was a dream scene by one of the characters. They saw an M14 in the sky and the numbers 217 on it. I don't know why they did that. There was also another scene where Julia Gardner's character, Justine, had a dream where she went into the school and saw the kids, but they kind of don't matter. This movie is very confusing, where it wants to be all mysterious and it wants to leave like these breadcrumbs, but it turns out the breadcrumbs just lead to nothing, like as if someone stole the bread. So yeah, the aunt has been possessing all the kids, and eventually all the main characters discover this. They end up going to Alex's house and breaking in, and some other characters end up getting possessed. There's no point of talking about them. It's Paul and James. They get possessed and they eventually have to die. And as this was happening, everyone was finding out that Alex's house was the source of everything because of all the people that keeps coming. So she was like, we got to run away. By the way, Alex, don't step over this salt line, and he eventually does. Then his parents start attacking him, and he runs into the bathroom and takes control of like the wooden sticks and everything. I don't remember where the aunt was, but she just wasn't. Oh yeah, that's right. She was in the basement because she heard people coming into the house. This was an opportunity for her to come into the basement because she knew Josh Brolin was going to go down there, and they had a shitty jump scare, and it was very bad. But all that was happening while Alex took control of the sticks and got the DNA of the aunt and broke it. And broke the stick and used his blood, which means he's now in control of the kids somehow without needing their DNA. Doesn't really matter. And then all the kids chase the aunt in like this very comedic way. They chase her down the road through the bunch of houses. They're breaking glass and everything. And yeah, all the kids fucking kill the aunt. And you can tell I'm just like dumbfounded because of how much I'm pausing. That's just it, really. Yeah, the day is saved. The people who are still possessed under the aunt, they kind of like aren't fully back yet because they were still possessed by someone, and the spell was never broken because there's a way to release the spell or the, you know, possession curse on people, and she never did that. So it's gonna take a while for them to come back. Then the movie ends. It's like, yep, that was the story. And yeah, I enjoyed this movie for what it was. I thought the lead up and build up to everything was great. But just like with Barbarian, I did not enjoy the final act. I don't think everything that we saw in this film led up to anything that interesting or worth talking about. I feel like this movie wanted to be so iconic, it wanted to tell like a really deep message, but it didn't really end up doing anything. It was just another generic scary film that had like some cool moments here and there. But as I mentioned, for this to get a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes is fucking crazy. Like, again, we all have our tastes, and if you really think this is a 10 out of 10 film, that's great. And I think it's good, but it's not a 10 out of 10 film. I fully disagree with the hype that it's getting. I would not give it a 100% or a 10 out of 10. I would give it a 7 out of 10. I'm just gonna be honest. I thought it was fine, but there was a lot of dumb moments in this film, a lot of things that didn't make sense, a lot of things that were not explained, a lot of, you know, bad choices. The main character being a very bad actress and her character was just awful, and I didn't really relate to the whole message and meaning of the story, if there even was one, because it was more like the director just wanted to tell a story to relate to, and that's just it. So yeah, Weapons was fine, but not the masterpiece that Rotten Tomatoes thinks it is. That's all I gotta say, everyone. Thank you for listening. Have a great rest of your day.